Life is hectic, demanding, and doesn't stop. When honest with ourselves, we must confess we often don't know what the hell we're doing. The Larkcast is an ongoing conversation about the inclusive and mischievous nature of God's presence through the lens of all the things that make up this phenomenon we refer to as life. Astonishing grace and refreshing honesty collide right here for your weekly encouragement.
3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Larkcast. What's up, Russ?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm
How
doing
you doing, Tony?
okay. I'm doing okay. It's really cold where I live. It's really cold in my office. This building was built in the frickin' 1800s.
Yeah.
So it's built in the 1800s, and the thermostat for my office is in the office next door to my office. It like used to be kind of one big room.
Yeah,
I'm in the
man.
old sheriff's office in this like historic building in the center of my town. And yeah, it used to be like all these connected offices. So the thermostat's in a completely other room. We've got, space heaters going, but
Got them all
it's
going.
it's the Midwest, dude, and it's January. And I always tell people like I'm really cool with winter up until pretty much now.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I always told people, look, just growing up in Florida and then moving north as an adult, Asheville, Chicago, right, then back to Florida. I found that winter was like cool to watch on TV as a kid, other places. So, as a kid, man, I'm like, dude, I wanna live where, you know, with with Russ, dude, at Clark's house, see cousin Eddie, check, the snow. But yeah, man, I finally moved north and got to experience snow, and I thought it was really cool to look at through the window, like watching it on TV. But it just sucks, man, to be in. And then I thought
Cool
like the
as an
cool,
idea.
like, yeah, it's like a cool idea. And again, like being cool out like at Thanksgiving and Christmas was kind of neat. But I felt like the day after Christmas, I was like, okay, I think winter could end now.
Yep.
I think we're good.
Yeah, my question to
But
people
it never
usually this
happened.
time of year is, how's your seasonal depression?
It's like a real thing. I noticed like in your background here, man, you got snow on one side and looks frigid, dude, out there in the window. But then I noticed on the other side of you is a bright yellow screen, like a sun. I didn't know if that was on purpose.
It's not.
Just the music playing.
Yep. Just the
Okay.
music playing. I
I
don't
didn't know
have
if that
a
was like,
like a fake beach scene on my TV to try to trick myself that I live somewhere other than the Midwest in
speaking
January.
of tricking themselves, you've been seeing what's going on in the church world. Sorry.
Oh man.
Oh man. I was just in a conversation about that. It was fresh on my mind. So here we are, dude.
Man, I'm yawning. Gotta do the breathing exercises. You ever do breathing exercises?
I do. I
You
do.
do?
No, I was kidding.
Yeah. I was gonna say. I do every once
I
in a
have
while.
found that if you yawn, they say you're supposed to like breathe in really deep a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, that's about the extent of it. I was doing some breathing exercises yesterday. My son Eli got a trampoline for Christmas, and I was sucking wind, dude, trying to keep up with him in a game of basketball in there.
That's not breathing exercises. That's just surviving. That's just trying to stay alive.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was pretty humorous, but it's true. True story.
How's he
Remember when you
digging
were
that
young?
trampoline?
Oh, he loves it, man. He's like doing flips and 360 dunks on this hoop I put on there. And of course, I go out there and having fun for a while. And I'm like, you have like muscle memory from even when you were young. Because when I was a kid, more like high school, my younger brother got a trampoline. So as a high school kid, man, I'd go out there, jump on it, man. And I guess just muscle memory, man. I'm out there jumping and I'm like, hey, watch this. And I try to do something that I did, you know, years ago and it didn't go well.
She tried doing like a front flip or something.
No, I'm not that daring. Um, as soon as you asked me that, I had this like tendency to just lie because I didn't want to confess this. But no, man, I just jumped up as high as I could, and then remember how you used to put your feet out in front of you straight, and you just land on your butt, and then you bounce back up on your feet,
Yeah,
like the first thing you
that's
kind
a
of
good
learn to
move. That's a
do.
good move. It's
Yeah,
a good
I just
trampoline
tried to
move.
do just tried to do that, and I immediately got like sciatic nerve pain in my lower
Oh
back and
man.
leg when I shot my legs out. Which case resulted in me turning to the side, putting my left arm down, almost breaking my shoulder, bouncing back up and
I was kind
going,
of hoping
yeah.
that that would jump up as high as you can, land on your butt. You hit the angle wrong. You immediately dart, straight left right into the net, crash through onto the ground, tip the trampoline sideways.
Yeah, I ain't that big, bro.
That's more, dude. It's bad when your nieces, nephews, your kids get stuff and like you exceed the weight limit on that thing, and your
Hmm.
wife's constantly reminding you, or she knows to ask the question, "Hey, what's the weight limit on that?"
Oh, I love that. I love that. It's not, hey, fat ass, get off of there, which I could appreciate more because passive aggressive is like my pet peeve in life. Yeah, that hey what do you Aunt Susie, what do you think the weight limit is on that thing? I was wondering about that. Meanwhile, you're like standing right next to Aunt Susie, staring at this person. Like, really?
Yeah, yeah. It's more. She asks the question with a smile on her face.
Oh, can't do it, bro. Just thinking about it. Just thinking about it.
Nah,
Is
I
getting
kind of
me
embrace
going.
it. I embrace it.
No, you don't. I've seen you in sessions, man, times and places over the last decade where somebody
Or I get
ask a
upset
question that
about.
they know the answer to.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about like that specific one.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah, and again with your spouse for sure. I thought you just meant in general. Like, I don't know, man. I've seen some denominational leaders ask some questions they knew answers to, and you look at them cross-eyed and go, "Really? Like you didn't know that?" And the whole meeting just ends. It's like, well, that was that.
Well,
Well, we
so
weren't
much for
going
that one.
anywhere anyways. Yeah.
No.
Well, dude, here's my thought, man. It's the new year, and I thought I I know
Seeing
we
that we're
chatted about
seeing that
this.
we're new people in the new year.
Seeing how we're new people, I uh I thought it'd be good, man, just for hopefully just for the encouragement, man, that it can offer because of the encouragement that we have found from just like that aha, man, over the past year. I don't deal with like, a word for the year and New Year's resolutions. If that's you out there, amen, run at it. I've just never been good at those things. But I have noticed something sort of natural that's happened to me over the years is it seems like about every year there's like this aha, what I'm saying, kind of moment where I sort of like learned something. Um, you learn a lot of things over the year, but there's like one thing that really seems to like stand out. And for me, and I know just hearing from you pre-show, from you, it sounds like both of us have learned something. Um, from the Spirit, man, over the past year that it gets a little close to home.
Yeah.
And as you were sharing, and even as I was just sharing myself, man, I just immediately started running through my mind this Rolodex of people over the last year who've literally said the exact same thing.
Hmm.
Like that's where I'm at. And like man, uh chalk it up to the right spirit of God seems to know what he's doing and
Always.
what we're all, you know, dealing with. And so I just thought, man, just for the encouragement's sake, it'd be cool to just unpack a couple of ahas
Yeah, for sure.
as we kick off this new year.
Yeah, I can go first, man.
I was
Um,
gonna say, if you want to go first, that'd be great because
yeah, I'll go
I was gonna
first.
volunteer you.
This isn't anything, mind blowing. Probably a common experience for, people who don't find their um community around Jesus, um, or even like how you would even understand um or see the church um in like common, spaces called the church, which are church services. Um, but man, this thing could get pretty lonely. Even when you're, you know, somebody who has a lot of friends and stuff like that. And it could just be the season, I'm in. 'Cause I've had various, seasons of like packed houses and lots of conversations and stuff like that. Um, but it gets lonely because you have a lot of conversations with people. They seem to be kind of pretty interested, um, only to kind of like watch them, just like walk right back into, you know, the normal, kind of cultural understanding of a church, right back into a building with services and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I think it's especially I don't know, hurts, is discouraging, probably just more discouraging. I just get pissed.
So it's not
Um,
discouragement. It's
Anger,
I get pissed. Yeah.
piss. I think it's discouraging too.
Yeah. No, I'm
Of
just kidding.
you kind of cast a vision for just the church's friendships and
Hmm.
like real authentic conversation, like deep connection over real food. Um, you know, where we're
No, like,
serving each other and making food and just chilling, connecting, laughing, but then also getting into the deeper parts of life and like, man, like really experiencing like those one another's, that the Bible
mm,
actually describes the church as human
yeah.
connection around the commonality of Jesus and good news. And then for whatever reason, and everyone's got their own reasons, a lot of it has to do with like young families and kids. They just feel like they got to go back, to a thing because they feel like it's not like happening,
Hmm.
or they have this understanding of what it is and they can't like shake that because they were born into an understanding of the church. And it feels like from there, like the conversation's over. Yeah, I guess like the connection and the friendship and like really connecting on life and all that is still kind of there, which is crazy because I'm counting that, so to speak. If we're counting anything, I'm just
Yeah.
like, yeah, man, like this is, for me, this is it. Um, but in their mind, they're like, oh yeah, like this is just a cool friendship, and then church is something that happens, over there.
Over there. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so you move away from
I
just
get
like
it.
genuine, authentic, real expressions of the church, only to go back to something that kind of poses, you know?
Yeah.
as the church. Sort of like the difference between like a bag of Doritos and like, some killer like rice and beans or even some Russ made T-bones. You
Mm,
have this thing that's just genuine and real and rich and raw, only to just like walk away from it for a shiny bag of Doritos.
yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. I agree with you that it definitely can be lonely. But before I think we even just chat further, about that, the frustration part, dude, I will tell you, which I'm just thinking about this just now. Sorry if I'm a little slow here. I'm like pondering as I'm sharing at the same time because I hadn't thought about this, but I think the frustration can come in because there's just so many facets to the loss that you feel, right? In that you've gone and loved on people as a friend like Jesus did. You've taught them through in conversations, open-ended conversations, unhurried conversations, the way Jesus did. You are actually saying what Jesus said and speaking to the God that he revealed, um, which is, I'm just going to be honest with you, it's really hard to find in church settings because the God that Jesus described, he doesn't sell to a world that's in search of control. And that makes it really hard to sustain a church institution. So you have this like, man, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've loved on these people, and then you watch them go back to something that you're going, okay, so in the name of following Jesus and in the name of helping your children follow Jesus, you went and plugged into something that Jesus didn't do, never told us to do. It actually isn't in the New Testament either, the people who followed him. And on top of that, it doesn't actually lead to you doing what Jesus did, saying what Jesus said, seeing what Jesus saw. But this is somehow following Jesus, right? And so there's like the frustration is almost like the lack of truth and logic in that, right? You just kind of find yourself going, what? But then comes like that evangelistic heart that you have where you're like, dude, have you thought about all the people in and around you, man, that you would have time to actually go do what Jesus did with if you didn't plug into this machine over here that didn't empower you for it and doesn't give you the time for it? So then, right then, there's just like that loss of like mission in that, man. And I feel like that's where just the frustration just like bounce.
Yeah, it's pretty discouraging, man, for sure.
Yeah.
So like so the frustration, you know, of it. Maybe if I'm being honest, like just struggling with um just not having, you know, like that influence of just like, dang man, like, am I like, is this sort of like a prophet has no honor in his hometown kind of a thing? Like everyone's got me labeled, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like in that, just saying, well, dude, you know, I'm just gonna press even farther into, some of these other, relationships I have where like the possibility or even thought or idea of some sort of Sunday thing, is like not even in view.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I get that. It's, I get the frustration.
Also, too,
And I,
like, yeah, one of I think the frustrating thing is like, dude, this thing was like right under your nose and you couldn't even appreciate it or detect it or enjoy it because
Yeah.
you are constantly comparing it to this old thing or this other
Yeah.
thing that is familiar to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't want to, and I don't hear you doing this. And we've been friends long enough that to know that you would see these people through a lens of love and and offer, right? Just the good news of God's grace. You know what I mean?
I don't think I
In
would be
to
frustrated if
there.
it, yeah, I don't think I would be frustrated if there wasn't, you know, some sort of just
Love.
general care,
Yeah. Yeah.
concern, passion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like I don't hear you in any way being disparaging um as much as you're just saying like, man, brother, sister, right? Like whoever it is, it's like right under your nose is the very thing the Spirit of God has been doing all over the world. It's what Jesus did. And it's the most it actually is what you need. But you've been duped by this generic want that that robs. It robs you of the very life and joy and purpose that that Jesus has invited into you, right? The story, man, the adventure, that unplanned life of faith. It's it's all getting gobbled up, dude, in a programmed thing over here. That's not what he did, and it's not even saying what he said. I think that for me is one of the spookiest parts. It's like just sitting down with a couple who's like, man, I hear everything you're saying and I know, but well, we're just going to do it because, little Johnny here just really needs us. I'm like, so the thing that you grew up in that never led to you actually stepping into the life that Jesus gave you, you now you now think the best thing to do to love your son is to put him in that system? Seriously? And you can watch wheels turn, dude, and they're like, holy cow, I never thought of it that way. But then it's like something happens and it's just like it's almost like no, no, tune it out, tune it out. I don't know like what it
Yeah,
is,
there's
but
just
there's
such a
this
weird relationship with like
yeah,
nostalgia, the farther um the
yeah.
farther you get separated from a thing, like the greater it was or whatever. I don't know.
Dr.
Um,
Paul Zoll said that nostalgia is the most addictive and pervasive drug in America.
sure. Yeah, I could see that.
I would agree
I
with him.
could see that. Hey, sorry if that was a weird edit. Someone just walked into my office looking for court and they constantly well, this is actually connects because like earlier I was saying that I work in this old courthouse in the middle of my city. They always think like courts here. So, and I'm the first office as soon as you walk through the doors. Every single day, someone walks into my office wanting a list of houses that are behind on taxes. They're looking for um, divorce certificates, marriage certificates, birth certificates,
Yeah,
all of it. And I'm just like, yeah, dude, this is just a museum with some offices.
yeah. But you could set up a little side gig, man, where you offer to provide those things for a fee.
I could, I could.
Just
We've thought of
a
some
thought.
diabolical ways to just mess with people.
Yeah, that'd be normal. But speaking of messing with people, I get, dude, I get the frustration and I get the loneliness that can set in, from that.
Yeah,
I would just say as a word of encouragement, I don't want to give her whole story away because she's going to be joining us on the story version of the Larkcast with me and Sarah here in the future. But but there's somebody in Raleigh, man, who's been just a new lark that's really just come alive in good news. And I think we've been a real encouragement to her and her husband, but also they to us. And very similar, like I've known this machine my whole life, stepping outside of it, right, is such a challenge. And then you finally get through that, right? And you close the doors on this thing that you've known your whole life in the name of church to go step into the one that Jesus, um, the essence of the one that Jesus actually started. And you can find yourself feeling really alone. And then the FOMO creeps in and the doubt and the fear and the frustration and it, her her encouragement, was I mean, I'm just gonna go start loving on people at this dive karaoke bar by my house
Yeah, I
and
love
just
that.
let the scandalous news of Jesus be what it is and let's see what happens. And
Mm,
this whole freaking community, dude. Friends who don't believe, friends who are on the fence of believing, friends who actually do believe that have been there. And just these conversations of grace, man, have just been drawing, right, the weary in. And out of that's come laughter and friendship that goes beyond, right? Like the karaoke bar, but then also great nights at the karaoke bar and
hmm
the serving of one another, man. And it's just freaking life-giving, dude.
Yeah.
And I guess the encouragement is like, man, when this happens, I guess you just you go about being a friend who offers relief because those who need relief actually are the friends that you need. They're the friends you want. Because as much as we call like, what often goes by the name church is community, sometimes like, you look at those friendships and it's like, oof, bro, if this is a community that this kind of news, right, creates,
Yeah.
I I don't know if I want this, man.
Yeah, it could be that I'm like pre karaoke bar Danny. That's kind of my era. I'm in my pre karaoke bar Danny era. Um
Yeah. Which
so
is a season for you because you're like at the same time, you're post karaoke bar because you've done things like that. You know what I mean? Like over the years.
yeah. Yeah, again, it's all seasons, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Been
be
at it
encouraged,
for,
man.
8 years.
Yeah.
Um, you know, since, leaving um the Western normative church. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah. So how about you, man? What are your ahas?
My aha, I would say I have spent um, probably about 11, because I spent a year prior to resigning, uh, being a pastor in Chicago before starting Table Network today, now Lark, what's become Lark with between me and you. So 11 years, man, of sort of seeing good news this way, seeing the scriptures this way, letting them say what they say. Not having that knee jerk reaction to tidy it up to fit into my bubble, but instead just saying, all right, Spirit, bend me to see what this is saying because I keep doing everything under the sun to return the scriptures to the realm of the possible. And so seeing that going on to create ministries of teaching that over the years, I have without belaboring the point, I've taught it from a myriad of different angles. And I felt like this past year, something really just sort of hit me and just asking the Lord, like, man, help me just see this and teach us through a simpler lens. And a big aha for me, man, is just really just understanding the word faith the way Jesus defined it. So it's like the aha was it is seeing the difference between faithfulness and faithlessness.
Hmm.
To be faithful, according to the scriptures, right, is actually to be full of faith. Okay, it's to be it's to live trusting in who Jesus already is for us. It's actually not about performing, producing, striving, any of those things, right? It's literally about trusting in who Jesus already is for us. And that has just sort of really brought a lot of clarity, almost like a set of glasses for me. Especially over like the last 6 months, I would say, where I'm finding myself in my own journey, just to be clear, I'm not, somehow arrived. So in my own story, but also in the stories of the people around me that I care about, these I've just been able to really see like, oh, this thing that we're calling faithfulness is actually faithlessness. And that has I felt like played a pretty unique role in just helping me teach us with some new things that are coming out. Also being able to just hear where people are at and their stories and just finding ways to help them sort of move forward, right?
Hmm.
Like in the name of discipleship. So much of it is right is centered around like behavior modification at the end of the day,
Sure.
calling it faith, calling it following Jesus.
Yeah.
Um, to which case that's not. That's just
Yeah.
religion.
Right.
Um, so that's been like a big aha, but I would say
I like that one.
underneath that,
Can
the
I just
thing
make
that
a quick
that's
comment on that?
yeah.
Well, we always talk about like, you know, I think a lot of people just think faith is, virtuous in and of itself.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not. Faith, the only value faith and hope have is in its object. So if we think about like the object of our faith, see, we think faith is just this thing, like it's ours, like
Mm-hmm.
it's our faith, this thing to curate and grow and mature and, you know what I'm saying? Like keep like building the resume of our
Mm-hmm.
faith, which is going to get evaluated, and is constantly being evaluated. But faith's only as good as its object, and if you look at its object, you know it's in um it's in God. um it's in the Father, it's in the Son,
Mm-hmm.
it's in the Spirit. And the Son is described as someone who's constantly at work. The Father's constantly at
Yep.
work. And the Spirit, blows like the wind. It goes where it wishes.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, then we should expect a pretty wild, crazy journey outside of buildings made by human hands. Because as Paul says, God doesn't dwell in buildings made with human hands. So it's a
Yeah.
journey of all the moments, in your neighborhood and at work and at karaoke bars, extended places of community. That's a good reminder for me. Um, so whatever that thought that popped into my head as you said that was I think like a great encouragement for the discouragement that I shared on the front end of this.
Yeah, man. It's right. It's easy to get lost in what you see, which, the scriptures
Yes.
say that our faith, right, is in him who is unseen,
Hmm.
not in what we can see. And yet so much of, what's, quote unquote, Christian growth is like it's all centered around what you can see and then you doing things that you can see to fix what you can see.
Making
And then we're
plans and
saying,
tracking progress.
yeah, and then we're
That's
saying, well,
how what we're calling faith.
this is faith. And it's like, no, no, you actually went on that whole ride because of your unbelief, not because of your belief. And it's like, well, what do we do? And it's like, well, seek the Lord, talk with him, come to him, share with others, be encouraged in the good news of who he is. And you're putting your faith in who he is and has always been and where he's always been, alive in you, even in the midst of the struggle. And then watch, as Galatians says. The Spirit will work and you'll start to walk in good and beautiful things. And amen. But those will be that will be a fruit of him, right? Not a fruit of you. And I just feel like there's such a freedom in that. There's such an adventure in that. There's an encouragement in that. There's a connection to other people in that. There's uh there's an opportunity to be honest in that. right? You don't have to hide that, right? Because your faith is in him, not in what you're doing. So it's like, man, I legitimately don't have anything to prove because I don't have anything to lose, unless you're saying that Jesus does. So that's been like a cool aha. And I'll just say this. The within that, I have really had a bit of an aha and like you've got to teach this not just to the weary who are open and willing and ready to hear of the God of relief, but in Jesus's words, like he told all of us, right, to go and make disciples, baptize them, right, teach them, right, to walk with me. The little the words that are used there, teach them to observe all that I commanded, and it just really got me thinking about this this difference between faith, right, and faithless, and how so much of what it goes by the name faith is faithless. And then you look at Jesus dealing with a crowd like that, especially early on in his ministry, and he brings the Sermon on the Mount, man, to really start poking holes in this illusion that we've bought. And it's out of love that he does it because otherwise you could spend your life in good faith to the wrong God and therefore never live in freedom. And I just felt like within that, the something that I feel like the Spirit's been just showing me is we've got something really good here. Let's share it more. Let's share it more often. And you're gonna hit some rubs with people. You'll even be hated, Jesus said. His words bring a divorce, literally. Those are his words. Between those who have admitted their death and are clinging to him and those who refuse to. And so, man, there's going to be some discomfort in that. There's going to be comments in that. And I don't personally like wrestle with the discomfort of it. I don't shy from that. I just, dude, I like to just enjoy TV at the end of the day and not have to be bothered with comments on social media that I got to keep up with.
Yeah.
But I feel like the Lord saying, like, man, this is a real thing, and it it's robbing millions, millions of the life that He's actually given them, and you got to talk about it.
Hmm.
And so you're Rush, you're gonna have to see where your faith's at, and take the lid off. Can't keep playing it so close to the chest, and that's a challenge for
Hmm.
somebody who enjoys conversation and relationship. So I'm like, okay, here we go, 2025.
Dang, bro. Gloves are off.
Those are off.
No F's. Russ is activated.
You know, going back to social media, just really just as a place of just to inform, right? And just bring, some clarity, connection to people who are out there who are hungry to learn. And I know that the downside of that, right, is the good news of Jesus, as always, is going to make war on the religious the religious crowd. But it's okay. We'll have fun with it. We'll be loving with it, but we'll be bold with it. A new video series dropping this week. Be on the lookout. Larkside.com. 3-part series going live free. Just as
Yeah,
a way to
just
help people get started on this journey.
yeah, I'm excited about those. Um, they turned out really well. Um, and yeah,
Yeah, big shout out to you and
check them
Parker,
out.
man. Catico. Catico folks.
Yeah, it's
If
kind
you've
of
got
cool to
brand design needs,
work
video.
together, from a little bit of a different angle on this one, which is cool.
Yeah. Oh, they're gonna be great, man. So yeah, dude, content going out, new resources going out, new book on the parables. It's all a lark. Coming this spring. Yeah, dude. Lid's off. There is a difference, folks, between faith in Jesus and what's often masquerading as faith in Jesus. One leads to genuine freedom, the other just enslaves. Our heart is to help you find the exit door.
It's good stuff, man. Thanks for sharing.
Hopefully that's an encouragement, man, to you out there, as it is to us.
Yes. Yeah.
Stay tuned, folks. Grace and peace.
Cheers.
Cheers.